Hey guys, welcome or welcome back in this vlog. This video is going to be my first ever video podcast and I'm very excited about me and Kinjal exploring a lot about our guest. And one last thing I want to mention, this video is very helpful especially for those who want to make their career in plant science or they are breeding something. So please last तक जरूर देखें.
Okay, we are rolling.
Good morning. I am Shaisal. I am Shivani Thakur, and today I am here with my friends. She is Kinjal Trivedi, and sir. Today we have Parthiban Prakash, sir, with her senior scientist, breeding optimization. So, sir, we are very excited because when Miss Glyza aligned your tight schedule with us, so we are quite excited to having this long conversation. Sir, how's you, sir?
I'm good.
That's a very beginning question.
Yeah.
It's a simple one. So, tell me something about yourself, like your childhood memories, or from where you are started.
Okay, in terms of the career?
Yeah, in terms of the career or in terms of your good memories.
Okay, yeah, sure. I mean, yeah, so I'm myself Parthiban, so I'm a scientist here, not a senior here, but I'm a scientist here focusing on breeding optimization. I'm primarily also a rice breeder here. And I think my roots go back all the way to India. So I originally come from a smaller town, like 1 hour from Coimbatore.
Yeah.
And our family is an agriculture family, of course. So we do grow a lot of bananas and sugar cane and turmeric and all those things. But I was not into agriculture until I finished my my 12th grade, like my schooling. And post that, I was really interested in biology. So always biology interested me. So I was that's why I chose biotechnology as my undergrad. But I think taking biotechnology, then I realized more like I wanted to broaden my area of work. So I was interested more into plant breeding because it's a slightly a bigger force. So, and then for that, I went to Agriculture University in Coimbatore. So that's where I did my biotechnology. So I knew about plants and agriculture. So that interested me more towards plant science. And I got a really nice opportunity post my undergrad. There's a fellowship from Tata Foundation, and then I was able to get my master's in Cornell, and that's where my plant breeding just actually started. So then, during my master's is what made my safe career.
Sorry to interrupt you in the middle. What was subject in 11th, 12th?
So I was doing biology, math.
Okay,
yeah,
okay.
So
Bio plus math.
Yeah, bio plus math.
Yeah.
So I was into both careers. So yeah, even I like maths a lot also. So it was a debate between whether I want engineering or biology, but biology interested me more. So and of course, math there's no escape. You still have to study math. Okay, so it's something that you need to learn forever. So you can't escape math by doing biology. It always helps you a lot. So it's really important. So yeah, once done, then there was some counseling. I know you guys will go to the counseling and see the colleges. And then luckily the university TNAU, it's very close to my home, just like a 5-minute drive from.
So you cracked the exams for the TNAU, no?
Yeah, there is an interview process, right? So you have to submit your scores, and then they call for counseling. So yeah, there's no special entrance, but you need to get a good score from to get into the that's a main campus, right? Okay. So in Coimbatore, so it needs some kind of a thing. So I didn't like anything like national entrance exam, but mostly like through cutoff. They call it cutoffs, right? How much mark you have in each subjects, and based on that you can choose your majors. So that's how I ended up being there. And post that, then I wrote my GRE and TOEFL, all those things during my undergrad. So then that gave me a really good opportunity to move to a university. And for that, you need they have a screening process, like they see your GPA. But GPA is not the only thing again. Yeah. Don't just be a bookworm. Yeah. So there's no meaning in getting 10 out of 10 because our system is mostly memory based. So just try to be more meaningful and try to understand things, I would say. And I would strongly, since you're on the last year, strongly recommend to go outside. I know that's why I asked you where you're from. Yeah. You're all from MP, so you've been in one state mostly from the beginning of your life. So I would strongly recommend for you to at least go somewhere in India. I'm not saying going abroad. You can even in India, go to different states, be in different part of the world where they speak different language and all those things. So it will be a really good exposure, not for the subject itself, but also learning your life kind of thing, right? So because you can learn all these things from the books, from online, internet courses, but traveling gives you more than just a textbook. So I would strongly recommend that for anybody who is talking to me. I would like that changes your perspective. So you see the same thing again and again, think that's right, but when you go outside, you think, oh, I might not have the right person. So that changed me. So I from biotechnology I moved to plant breeding, my masters, and then I was finishing my masters. I had a fellowship application to IRRI and the University of Illinois. That was a kind of funding done. So then I got.
So since studying abroad is very fascinating to all of us, so how was your life in US, and also what is the difference in academics of US and India?
Yep. So I mean, not just the fascination of being in a different country.
Yeah.
So I didn't apply for multiple countries. Honestly, I didn't apply for Europe because usually the most of the major universities in the US. So I was inclined to apply for that. So I cannot speak for other continents. The life was entirely different. But the sense of academics itself, what I found there in the US system was it was not like a one-time learning. For example, in our systems we have this mid-semester, your final examination. So you tend to study only during those times, and rest of the time is more like projects and
college.
stuff. Yeah, I mean, which is not bad. I mean, it's still good. I still have really good teachers. I have really good curriculum. I don't blame. But whereas in the US system, it's almost like a continuous learning. So they don't really evaluate you just based on one test or one final exam. So they have weekly assessments, weekly quizzes, weekly tests. So it's like a continuous grading. So, and that's really useful because you don't like sit and overnight just learn everything in the right and thing. So it's more like you have to continuously learn things and more of understanding based things. So there's less memory based. So you don't have to study a whole textbook and reproduce. Nobody's expecting that, right? So even the exams, the questions will be different. So that's the biggest difference when I first went. Like when I first went my master's in Cornell in Ithaca. So I found it very, very different because it's a new system. But it was fun because you will learn a lot. I mean, the same statistics I studied in India, in the US, it's very different. Like here it's most like you have an example problem. The example exercise problem is almost similar, changing the numbers. But whereas there, the case study is different. They give you a different way of interpreting things. They give you a problem and you have to solve. And that's one of the biggest difference. The second main thing is the flexibility in courses. So that's actually a really nice thing because you don't have to pick and choose what the school gives you. You can choose whatever course you want. You can even select music. You can even select arts. But of course, there's a minimum requirement for your degree. For example, if you take crop sciences or plant breeding, you have to take some plant sciences course, crop sciences course. But there's flexibility of taking anything. That also lets you try more things. Like, okay, I want to have a minor in statistics. I want to have a minor in remote sensing. Something you can still pursue that. That's the two major difference I would say. It's more like continuous learning and applied learning kind of thing, and also flexibility of your course. That's the two major difference I would say. Otherwise, I mean, it's the same textbooks, you have same literature, you can still study. So there's no change in the science part. It's just the medium of communication is slightly different. But otherwise, there's no big shock. So we still have good friends, and mostly you learn the life like outside, being outside home, staying out of your comfort zone. You try to meet with more people from different backgrounds. So that was the biggest learning for me than the science itself. So being passionate is good, but don't go for the sake of just going. Okay, so you talk to more people like who has been there. Like for example, I can give you examples from the US, like, but I don't know anything about Europe. So if you talk to somebody else from Germany or from England, they can give a different perspective also. So talk to as many of your seniors you have or any colleagues. Don't hesitate to ask them any questions you need to know. How is the life there, and how is it worth going there? Is it like really good university, and so on. So
we spent here only 15 days, but still we found that here's a flexibility about the choosing careers and not the marks oriented, but here we have a practical knowledge also. So after this, how's your experience in IRRI?
IRRI is amazing. So as I told you, during my PhD, I had this fellowship through IRRI. So I did my almost entire PhD in the US. So I had a chance to come here and work on experiments also. So I knew IRRI before.
They approach you or you?
No, we have to submit an application. So it's like a global application. So we submit a proposal, your application, and they screen. So it's like a fellowship for 5 to 6 candidates across South Asia. So you have to apply. So it's like global, like anybody from South Asia can apply. So we apply using your master's research and what is your proposal. So we wrote a proposal with my supervisors back in the masters. So it's a screening process. So they shortlist you, then they finally say you're selected or not. You also have to find an supervisor in the US university. So I chose Illinois. So they had a memorandum of understanding. But so that was how my life in IRRI started. So I had a flavor of what IRRI was doing. I was working in rice before, so that also led me to IRRI eventually. So that time I really liked it because being a graduate student is the most enjoyable time of your life. So yeah, the work is okay. You can get paid well, but the fun part is the masters and PhD. So don't take it as a burden.
Yeah.
Enjoy it because that won't last. Okay, that's a few years, and then it becomes more responsibility of 9 to 5. But now we have the flexibility. You can choose whatever you want, and don't think, oh, I'm already finished my undergrad and masters in one field. I want to stay in the same field. If you don't like it, you have the path to choose. Okay, so you can move to different streams. And when you move outside, the flexibility is more. In India, it's slightly harder because they talk about, I don't know if in MP the same, in at least in TNA they talk about cross majors. If you study biotechnology, you cannot go to breeding. If you study breeding, you can go to. So that thing is something I'm not a big fan of. Yeah, so it's very difficult because it doesn't matter because you can be a good plant breeder even though you study agronomy or you can study plant
technology. You can also jump into the breeding section.
So yeah, there is no one stopping you, and that's something that I'm really skeptical why the system is so rigid in keeping that cross majors. But coming out in place like IRRI and outside, that lets you choose your own.
And how IRRI is different from other institutes in terms of rice research or
that's I cannot comment more because I've not lived there, right? I work with a lot of colleagues from CIMIT, from CIAT, from ICRISAT. So I cannot exactly say because I haven't lived there. But I think the overall motto is the same, right? So in a CG center, it's all CG center, right? So IRRI, CIMIT, they're all non-profit international centers. They focus on one crop or two crops or few crops, and their mandate is develop products or make the livelihood for farmers better. So in that mission is same. So wherever you go, that's same. So it's not like working for profit. And but in terms of working culture, it changes. Being in Philippines, you see the people are super kind. They're very soft. They're very hospitable. But if you travel to different country, it might change. So which you have to be there, right? Otherwise, if you mingle with colleagues, it's different. They interact with you for the work, but you don't live there. So it's hard to say. But it has been excellent. It's one of the best places. If you work in rice, I don't think you can find any better place than IRRI to do your rice because it's the headquarters for rice research and all your green revolution comes from here. And even now, most of the varieties in India, in Bangladesh, there's a lot of lines were used from here even till today. So it's also kind of nice because you are being in the part of institution where it still works with the farmers, with the NARS partners, with the institutions. Like all you guys are partners, technically speaking. So we are working with them. So yeah, I mean, life is really good here. So there's I don't think any negative sides for it at all. So it's also close to India.
You also found here the positive sides.
Yeah, I mean, it's a really good, and you are at the right time also. I mean, pandemic was hard for everybody, not just here. It was really tough the 2 years, but now things are gaining back the momentum of the old IRRI. So old IRRI was like so many students, so many scholars, and a lot of postdocs and scientists here. But now IRRI is getting back its life. So it's a good place. It's I would strongly recommend if somebody wants to pursue their research or careers, you can start applying and think of coming here. If you are wanting to do rice research, of course you can choose other crops. Rice is not the only crop. Don't always go back the bandwagon like, hey, work on the major crops. Nothing like that. You can still work on a minor crop. You can have a lot of scope also because there's a lot of work to be done on other crops. So pick and choose whichever you wanted to work. And one thing I want to say is like, don't pick on the tools. For example, biotechnology is a tool. Your data analysis is a tool, and that can change over time. But pick something that's more major, broader. For example, a crop science or plant breeding or agronomy, because you use all the tools everywhere now. Like for example, you cannot escape from, as I told you, mathematics or computer programming. It's becoming a part of every field. Doesn't matter if it is pathology, entomology, or breeding or agronomy. That comes into play. So don't identify the tools you wanted to master, rather pick on the fields you wanted to work on. So for long term, if you wanted to be a research oriented person, so of course you can change your career. You can go to MBA, you can do something else. That's also perfectly fine. Nobody's stopping you. So don't think that talking to a scientist you have to become a scientist. That's not the only career. Okay, so I'm not saying don't become a scientist. I'm saying that's not the only way, because you're still part of this community. You can be a communication expert. And one good thing about IRRI, you can meet people from everywhere, like all the fields. So it's not like scientists do the scientist job. We need to have people from communications, we have people from extension, we have people from project management office, HR. So there's so many fields that you can still be a part of CG Center, I would say. So so it's a very good collaborative place.
Sir, as you are doing your research on salinity stress on rice,
I'm working on drought mostly.
Okay,
Yeah.
the climate resilient.
Yeah,
varieties.
yeah.
So, being in such a diverse places, like what are the challenges you faced while doing your research work?
Yep. So, there, I mean, all this stress-based breeding is always tricky, right? Because the environment is so different, the application of the stress is so different. So it is really challenging to identify the best line. If that was easy, people would have bred best lines already. Like now, no problem. So and the challenge we face is the variation again, right? So I don't know if you know about the genetic interaction with the environment. They call G by E, and that is one of the biggest bottleneck or the challenge for any breeder for breeding in stress environments. So because you have a stress that also influences your genetic response of the breeding lines, also have environment also putting another level of pressure on them. So identifying that is really difficult. That's why you need to have more number of environments, or you have to standardize the protocols for screening. For example, you cannot screen during an early stage in one location and screen late stage in another location. Then that they're not comparable. So then you don't get good genetic signals. So these are the challenges we face. So how we combat that is you try to develop standard procedures to screen. You give protocols, the best you could do, like give protocols to follow, and then try to increase the number of locations, and then try to identify the best lines. So that's how we are doing it. So one of the biggest changes in IRRI in the last 50 years and last 5 to 7 years is we are now breeding for the regions. So that's why we are talking. I don't know, Suresh was talking about also about how we are positioned in different countries. If we are breeding for India and Bangladesh, let's have trials there. Let's try to grow the lines or evaluate the lines in the region itself.
This is the reason IRRI does not produce varieties, they only give lines.
Exactly. Exactly. So you give good breeding lines, which can be varieties, but we are not trying to breed varieties for the regions directly. So you guys like the partner institutions who wants to be in India and work there, they can work with us, use the lines as parents, or if they've already found line to be good, they can release. That's perfectly fine because it's a lot open. So what we give is completely free and open source, so you can just use it anywhere you want to. So that's how we try to combat it.
Also, we need to restart the video because there's a 20-minute limit to it.
Okay.
Also,
I have a little bit personal question. Not personal, but you are saying that you are not from the agriculture background.
No, I'm from agriculture background. So, I mean, in terms of the personal thing.
Before 12th, you are not
I was
having a
not,
mindset of agriculture.
Yeah. So, although my family does agriculture, so we have farms, so we go to farms. That's always there. So
banana.
Yeah, banana.
So in 2006, you choose biotech. Is there any thought behind choosing biotech or just?
Yeah, that time I was more like you guys. I was fascinated by the technology, right?
Okay.
So 15 years before, biotechnology was like a hot topic at that time, right? So we can do a lot of genetic transformations and all those things. So that's what was fascinating me to go into biology, I would say. And plants was okay for me because I was liking plant science, and that was the reason I chose. And of course, maybe the reason I was spending my childhood in the farms also could have an influence. I won't say it's directly influencing. It's just a cliche term to say, hey, I was walking in the fields, and no, not like that. It's just that also helped me to understand the value of, because biotechnology can be applied anywhere. It can be microbes, plants, humans, anything. So I thought it would be a nice, cool thing to do. And I was in agriculture university, so obviously I learned plants. So that was
So one last message for our students like us who's watching this video and
wow, so many people watching.
please.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean,
we have a channel, that's why some message for our students.
As I told you before, just think of the big picture. Like what you want to do in your career. Like it takes time. I mean, everybody has his own timeline in their life to choose.
Yes.
So some people know what they want to do in 12th. Some people do after undergrad. Even people like me after masters, I was like, okay, this is what I want to do. So try to identify that, and that keeps you motivation on to go to the work. Okay? So just find out like what you want to do in the big picture. The tools can always come anytime. There's data science, there's more of genetic modification, but they change over time. But the big picture, you want to be in pathology, or you want to be in entomology or crop science. That's the big science, right? So the broad science. So I would say think in the big picture, broad science matter, where you want to be, than just the tools. Because tools you have to learn all the way. There's no escape for you guys. If you be in science now, you have to learn all the tools. So just focus on the big picture and try to identify what you like to do. and then that's what will keep you motivated to go to work. Otherwise, it becomes like
Yeah,
I'm going to work just
it's
because I want to
becoming
earn.
for us.
That's okay for some time, but after that you lose your gain, and you can change fields. So
Yes.
feel free to change fields. There's no like, hey, I studied until my masters, now I'm changing. No problem. You can change any time in your career. So just big picture. That's what I would say.
So it's really a great privilege we got to talk to you, and we sincerely enjoyed the conversation with you. So thank you so
Thank
much
you.
for making time for us in such a short notice.
No problem. I mean, sorry. Also, I
And
was
we are
rushing
not
you
done
guys.
with. We have a question, but I know your time, so.
No
you
problem.
want
No
to-
problem. But yeah,
Thank
thank you so
you
much.
so
Also,
much.
good luck for all your future careers. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you so
much,
much,
sir.
sir.
Yeah.